Don't you see? He's got us now. Okay, this is exactly what he wants. We can't go to the police, not now. He's made sure of that. He's just out there and he's watching us and waiting. What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
Hello and welcome to What Makes It Scary, a seasonal podcast unleashing the fear behind your favorite and not so favorite horror movies. I'm your host, Jody Henderson of Clever Girl Effects Studios, and with me, as always, Alex Vincent of Mr. Red Productions.
Hello and welcome to the show. I am Mr. Red. You got it right. We always say that I'm Mr. Red and you're Clever Girl and you're becoming Mrs. Red, right? That's like part of our thing.
Yeah, that's our hashtag for our wedding.
Why am I never becoming Clever Boy?
Because you're not a clever boy.
Great. I guess that explains it.
Alrighty, no cute intros this week.
No, I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, let's get down right to it.
I feel like our first season had a lot more episodes like this. Where we would
just got into it.
Yeah, a film franchise and just talk about it.
Okay, well let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Pussyfooting around it.
Okay, great.
We're talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer.
In fact, I do. Yes, this film.
What did you do last summer?
Oh, geez, a lot more than I did this summer. Unless you mean, was last summer technically
like a year ago from summer?
Okay, wait, a year ago from summer,
like 2019 summer.
Yeah, a lot more than this.
Yeah, way more.
Did a bunch of stuff. You know everything that we did, so I don't need to get into it.
The fact that we just didn't do much this summer at all.
Right.
But who did? I hope none of you did anything and played by the rules and stayed inside.
Stay safe.
All right. I'm very excited.
Good.
I know I keep saying that about all of our episodes, but this one I'm truly, truly excited for.
Yeah. Do you want to tell me a little bit about your history with this movie?
Oh, yeah.
Please do.
This movie.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
it's just one of those ones that you watch, and then you watch, and you watch, and then it's just completely ingrained in like who you are.
Right. When you're a kid, you mean? When you're
right.
young.
Yep. When I was younger, we watched and watched and watched this movie, specifically the first one. I have seen the second one. I had not seen the third one until
which was good.
Yeah, which was a blessing in disguise.
Right.
So, I watched this movie so much that, like, my cousin, Cassie, and I, like, one day, it's summer vacation, and you have nothing to do. Right. So, and we had a video camera, so we're like, okay, cool. Like, me and my cousins always used to get together and, like, make up news shows or, commercials or movies. Like, we would film them and act like we were really cool and whatever. Cute. We even had, like, a beauty pageant that we did one time. But my cousin Cassie and I specifically would act this one time like we were almost like Regis and Kelly and like interviewing like the cast of I Know What You Did Last Summer. And what we would do is like, pointed at us. I wish I knew exactly how old I was. I want to say 12, 13.
Sure.
Maybe younger.
Yeah.
But you'd like, point it at us and be like, well, Ryan Phillippe, what do you think about blah, 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 blah. And then we'd like fast forward to a part in the movie where it's like would pair up with something that they said.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's really funny because my cousin Cassie, she, for some reason, because we were all into makeup as well, like did this like really horrid makeup where she has like this unibrow and a mole and her like, her character that she made up was like Olga and had like this really thick accent.
Wow.
And I believe I still have that, and if I do, I definitely will put it on YouTube because it will be gold.
Okay, great. Well, look forward to that. It's unlikely that we'll be able to find these, but I really hope that we do because that sounds incredible. I did stuff like that too. Had nothing to do with this movie, but we had this old VHS camera that my dad owned, and we would just film just a ton of just garbage, absolute garbage.
Yeah, all the stuff on it.
Yeah.
Is pure gold now because it was pre-YouTube.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't upload it, so it was just like, I just have these videos. Yeah. What do I do with them? Hopefully these never see the light.
We even had one time. There was like this commercial that, it was like for Verizon or something, and it was like, this family's outside, and this noise happens in the bush, and they're like, ah! And then they finally like throw this rock, and they're like, whatever their neighbor's name is, like, Jerry, you gotta buy more minutes for your plan, because he was like outside trying to get like whatever it was.
Right.
So we like would parody that, and yeah,
that's really
just
funny.
really, really funny stuff.
Well,
so that's just a really nostalgic part that I have with this movie. But beyond that, I mean,
the movie itself,
it has such great actors in it.
It has a lot of big names.
Yes, two of the biggest names. In this franchise is Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Sarah Michelle Gellar, Buffy.
Who is also married to the other big star.
Yeah.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
Who I love so much. He's like right up there with Matthew Lillard for me.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, and it's probably just connected with this like Scooby-Doo thing.
Yeah.
That they're all in, all three of them. You can even look back into my booklet from 6th grade graduation, where we had you have to fill out all this stuff like, oh, what did you want to be when you grow up, and all this other stuff. One question was like, who do you look up to? And mine was Freddie Prinze Jr. Not that he was like someone that I looked up to, but he was just like one of my favorite people. I
have no idea anything about him outside of his like movie career, because he's just not like much of a personality. That's really funny though.
Yeah.
When I said there were big names in this movie, I don't mean stars. I mean their names are big. Everybody has 3 names in this movie. We also have
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Love Hewitt.
And then just Ryan Phillippe.
Ryan Phillippe, yeah. He's there. He's cool.
I haven't seen him in a ton of stuff. Like, whenever I do see him in something, it's always like, oh, there's Ryan Phillippe from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
I don't know that I know this guy other than from this movie. I don't think I've seen a single...
He was, or maybe still is, married to Reese Witherspoon. I have absolutely no idea. But at one time they were married. Okay. So like that was a cool
good
thing
for him.
as well.
I like Reese Witherspoon. She's in stuff that I have seen.
No, I'm just kidding.
Let's not.
I don't think she's been in like any horror movies, but
that's a shame.
Anyway, I Know What You Did Last Summer came out in 1997.
1997, 1 year after Scream.
Yes.
Which is important.
Because... it's written by the same person.
Kevin Williams.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, so same writer. You can kind of tell.
Right. It has a lot of very similar stuff to
tropes
to it. I like that these two movies, they're very similar movies, especially in like what's it called? Scary Movie.
Oh yeah.
Did these two movies.
There's a reason that they're parodied so hard. It's because he like goes through all of these tropes.
Right.
Scream being more aware of itself.
Yeah, Scream
and I Know What You Did Last Summer playing it super straight.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of members of, they go on to be in Scooby-Doo, the live-action movie, in both of these movies,
yes, all
too.
of them.
Yeah.
And we had even said, while watching this movie, like, wouldn't this have been, like, absolute perfection if we took Ryan Phillippe's character, which is Barry, and we'll get into this movie here in a minute, but he kind of plays, like, the hothead jock, which isn't Matthew Lillard at all.
Right, but
it would have been nice to see... because he puts so much into it.
He goes full Lillard. We were watching, especially the first scene where they're, doing, the actual moment happens and they're all freaking out about it. You can tell the director thinks that this is Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, because they're like, you're drunk, you're blah, 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 and all this other stuff. So that would have been good. Even better, not that I don't like Jennifer Love Hewitt. She's great. Yeah, but Linda Cardinelli would have been stellar in this role.
There was a shot, we'd paused it for some reason, and while we were discussing the Matthew Lillard thing, we looked at J-Love, and she looked like Linda. She had the way her hair was framed.
The bangs
very
and all
similar,
that
and we were like, oh, it would have been so good.
So good if they like went from that and then every single one of them went into Scooby-Doo. Would have been fantastic.
It would have been like a prequel to the movie with nothing similar between them other than the cast.
So we have these 4 characters, and we'll stay right here for a couple of minutes.
Yep.
So all these characters are graduating high school.
They're teens. They're 90s teens.
Right. Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character's name is Ray. Freddie Prinze Jr. was actually 21 when they filmed this.
Really?
All these ages I think are really funny.
Yeah.
Sarah Michelle Gellar, who plays Helen, was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And then Ryan Phillippe, who plays Barry, was 23. He was the oldest of the 4 of them. And then Jennifer Love Hewitt, who plays Julie, is 18. So she's actually 18 in this movie. And I never really would have guessed that. They all look 30.
Yeah,
but
knowing Jennifer Love Hewitt, she does look very young in this movie. But
you see her nowadays, she still looks very young.
She does. She looks good. This is a very, very, I would say, dated cast. Like, everybody from this movie is of the time that they're from.
Actually, this is Freddie Prinze Jr.'s, like, first, like, real movie.
Oh, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, he, like, I think he really did blow up after this. She's All That came out.
Yeah.
Probably in the 2000s. I want to say 2000.
Also starring Matthew Lillard.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so, like, this is kind of where his, like, teen heartthrob, like, started.
Yeah.
Especially with me.
Right. Most importantly.
But
I want to say Sarah Michelle Gellar, I want to say Buffy started this year.
The exact same year, 1997, Buffy started.
Awesome.
She was also in Scream 2.
She was in Scream 2.
Which came out the same. So this was a huge year for
Written by
Sarah
the
Michelle
same
Gellar.
guy.
And at this point, 1997, Freddie and Sarah, they're not married.
No,
they
don't
not get married until 2002.
Right.
So a couple of years later.
And they're still together. Good for them.
Yes. Super proud of them. Power couple.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, absolutely.
The cast is great. I am not... I like Freddie Prinze Jr. Let me get that out of the way. Let me get that out of the way. All right. I like him. He seems like a good dude. I don't know him, but whatever. He doesn't really do much by way of acting.
Yeah, I've never seen him act.
I would say that Scooby-Doo is probably his best movie just because he's actually
We haven't
acting.
seen enough of his movies to say that.
That's true. But it's just funny because he just kind of
that dopey, like, love puppy, soft, like, kind person. It's not his fault that he gets, like, cast in roles like this, but that's just what it is. So.
Oh, I didn't talk about my history with the movie.
Do you have history with this movie?
I read the book for some reason.
Did you really?
Yes. When I was a young kid. Don't ask me why, because I can't for the life of me remember.
It's an older book written by a lady.
I want to say it was... No, it couldn't have been. I want to say it's a 70s book. It definitely feels
very
like
old,
it.
yes.
It's an older one. But yeah, it's his book, and it is not, from what I remember, and it's been a long time, I haven't read it since, I don't believe it's a horror novel.
The movie is very loosely based on it.
And I'll be very honest, the book really strongly colored my image of this movie because it is, I don't believe anyone dies in it except for like the very beginning with the accident and then maybe at the end with the guy. But it's about just these people
dealing... Is it like
dealing...
a whodunit?
Kind of.
Okay.
It's like dealing with the grief of these kids and like the drama that they go through. And it was very boring, and I didn't like reading the book.
So you're like, I'm going to hate this movie.
And so when I watched the movie, I still kind of brought a lot of that with it, and so I still kind of have some, like, this movie's boring feelings.
How old were you when you first saw it?
I was pretty young. I want to say I would have been around 13, 12 maybe.
Yeah,
so... I this movie is very lost on me. I acknowledge that it's good, but I know,
sad.
And I like the cast. I like a lot of the movie. I love the writer because obviously he made Scream one of my favorite horror movies.
He also wrote Dawson's Creek, which is funny.
He did, yes. We heard about that and we were like, okay, very different vibes, but so that's my history with this movie. I've never seen until like for this, I'd never seen the second or third, but it's a good movie. It's well made and everything. So that's what I'm really leaning on.
Let's jump into the story.
Let's do it. So we're in 97. Picture it.
1997 is stick straight, the hair.
Yep, everything's sticking straight up. Everybody in this movie wears A shirts, the under, like, you call them wife beaters.
Oh, do they?
Oh, the guys do. All the guys do.
They wear tank tops?
Yeah, that's what they're called. Tank tops. Okay.
Well, yeah, so the fashion is very, very
it's
90s.
Great. It is awesome.
It's good to look back on.
It is.
It takes place in North Carolina.
Yeah, which I don't know geography. Where is that? Is it near the ocean?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yes, it's on the east. We drove through it to go to Florida.
Yeah, well, we didn't see the water, did we?
No, no. It's like Myrtle Beach is kind of either in like South Carolina or North Carolina. It's like over there. It's like down from where we are, down and over.
Okay, great.
Yes, right on the coast.
I just get it confused with the Dakotas.
You think that this movie... I would have sworn it took place in Maine.
Really? Oh, you know what?
Because it's a fisherman town, and you just, it's very east coast, and that's what you always think of as, like, Maine.
Well, I think of Boston. I'm not sure
Yeah, we had a fight about this, and then we looked it up, and it was North Carolina.
Yeah, we were like, it takes place either in Maine or in Boston, and we're like, neither of us are right.
Yeah. So, it takes place in a fisherman town.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, all four of our characters that we have here, they're graduating.
They're going off in different directions.
Yep, it's like 4th of July, right before they start, leave into where they're going to go.
Yeah.
They have I don't even know what it's called. I don't think they ever reference what this pageant is.
Right, yeah.
But it's like fish lady pageant beauty.
It's like a beauty pageant. It's like Miss America or something.
Kinda. And Helen, Sarah Michelle Gellar's character, is participating in this pageant, and she wins. And her, her friends, Freddie Prinze Jr., Ryan Phillippe, and Jennifer Love Hewitt, they're all up there.
Their all names are that.
Yeah.
She's Helen, but everybody else is their actor.
I'll get there. I'll get into where we get through it. They're there. They're there. She wins. They're very excited.
She
They're
does.
gonna go.
Why? She's beautiful, and these pageants,
and
they're
smart.
all well. Okay.
she's a fucking vampire slayer.
She is a vampire slayer. Can't deny that.
Yeah,
she's great. I love her so much.
So they're going to celebrate. They go out. They drive kind of out of town.
Yeah, they have this getaway just between the four of them.
Right, and they're on the beach. They're having a bonfire.
Yeah,
I am actually gonna cut back to the very beginning of this movie where like it's just overviews of like the coast and the road that's there, and we do see a gentleman who's like sitting on the edge of a mountain cliff and is very sad.
This dude, by the way, looks like, do you know that meme of the guy who's at some kind of show, he's in the audience and he's like overreacting and he's like gasping and everything? His mouth looks like that dude.
It's like a fish. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. No, it can't be.
It can't be. The timeline doesn't make sense.
But his hair looks just like I was saying, it looks like Matt LeBlanc and Matthew Perry.
Oh, the two dudes from... wait, is Matthew Perry? Luke Perry is who I'm thinking of. Matthew Perry is in Friends.
He also looks like Luke Perry.
Okay,
They all look the same.
All the Perrys.
It looks like him.
It's funny. He does, yeah.
So, leave that aside. We're back to the beach. It's at night. They're having a bonfire. And as you do around campfires, you tell...
Campfire stories.
Yeah, campfire stories, scary stories, urban legends.
Urban legends,
if you will.
Is that a hint to our next episode?
Oh, I guess it is.
No, we're not doing the movie Urban Legends. No, we're not doing it. Hey, Urban Legends starring Joshua Jackson, who was in Dawson's Creek.
Funny
stuff.
Like we've always said, these lines are always crossing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ray starts to tell the story of the hook guy.
Yeah, the guy with the hook.
Everyone knows this urban legend.
Right.
You know this urban legend? Yep. Do you remember the first time you heard it?
No, I don't. Of course not. I bet you do.
Tell your version. No, I really don't. Tell your version of what the hook story is.
So it's this couple, they're in a car, they're driving out, they're in the woods, and so you know what? Honestly, a lot of it is colored by not just this movie, but different versions
of it. What do you consider the story to be?
They hear like a tapping, I think, on the window, and they don't see anything, so they like get out, and the guy goes out and looks around, and when he comes back, like the car's empty, but there's a hook like attached to the door handle. I want to say that's it.
That's how you tell it? Okay, This is how I tell it. It's a couple, they're in the car.
Yeah.
And they hear over the radio that, this guy has escaped. He's got a hook for a hand and blah, 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 blah. They're making out. The guy wants to continue making out. And the girl, they hear scratching kind of either on the car, like nearby. They're hearing it. And she gets freaked out and she's like, take me home. Oh. They get all the way home. They open the car door and there's a hook in the car door.
Wow. They make it home okay then.
Yeah. That's a true urban legend because it's teaching you something to not have premarital sex.
Right.
And that's what urban legends are.
A lot of the time.
Anyway, so you can see how Mr. Red and myself, like our stories are very different.
But they have similar themes, but they go in different directions.
But everybody has their own interpretation of the story, which we see in this scene, which I thought was just a really clever way to put this.
Yeah, because they're all telling different versions.
Yeah, because like Freddie starts it, or Ray. Let's use their characters' names. Ray starts it, and he's like, I can't even really remember what he says, but he's like, it's this the hook story and whatever. And
Ryan Phillippe, Barry.
He's like, no, you're telling it all wrong.
It's like, no, that's not right.
Yeah, that's not right. And then Helen chimes in. She's like, no, they don't hear scratching. They hear blood dripping like on the car. And then Julie pipes in. She's like, no, it's
none of that.
And I love this scene because then they've all gone through their renditions and Freddie Prinze Jr. just is like appalled. He's just like,
yeah,
no, you guys are wrong.
And this is, I don't know if this is like supposed to be funny or if this is the character.
I think it's the character, but it's also just Freddie Prinze Jr.
because he's so genuine about it. Like,
he's like, no, you guys are
that's wrong.
You guys are wrong.
It's really good. But yeah, I do like this because I had never actually even considered that there were different versions of it, but they're all arguing about it. And it makes sense.
And it's not even just the Hook story, which everybody has. There's a million different urban legends and how they get twisted and told over time. Mm-hmm. So Barry's character's been drinking. Uh-huh. And they took his car out to the beach.
Yeah, he was the driver.
Ray is like, you're too drunk to drive. Let me drive your car. Right. And he's like, nobody drives my car.
Nobody drives my car.
Which gives me like flashbacks to Dead End.
Dead End! By the way, every time you say Ray, I can only think of Star Wars, and it's making, like, it's a gender neutral name, but I just have this very female energy attached to it.
Isn't that funny? Because we're going to put this out there. I read a lot of Star Wars fan fiction between Rey and Ben Solo or Kylo Ren.
Mm-hmm. Kylo Ben.
Reylo. Reylo smut, if you want to use the hashtag. But that's so funny because when I think of her, I envision the name Rey, R-E-Y.
Okay. When I think you read it a lot.
Right, and then like when I think of Rey, like from this movie, it's R-A-Y.
That's
so
really
that's
funny.
Like masculine. That's funny that you say that. It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Anyway, they're driving. Ray's driving. Mm-hmm. Julie is in the car, the passenger seat next to him, and the other two couples in the back.
Yeah, the blonde characters in the back.
Yeah,
the
brunettes are in the front, as it should be.
As it should be. High five. Wait, I'm red hair.
Yeah, you are nowhere in this car. Nobody invited you because nobody wants to hang out with a ginger.
Okay.
So Barry starts to get wild and is like changing the radio station.
He's a little drunk boy.
He's the jock. He's got his letters. He's going to be a star football player and all this stuff.
He's got a scholarship.
Yep, he stands up through the sunroof, getting wild and crazy.
This would be scary to do.
Hell yeah, it would. He drops his bottle of booze onto the console, and Ray's kind of like, "Oh, stop! Get back in the
He's distracted. He's a little swervy.
So then Barry just yells like, "Watch out!" And boom, they just like hit something. It rolls up the top of the car, almost like I would think it would break Barry's back.
Yeah,
like,
the fact that he's up there is weird for the blocking of this scene because he gets like hit by this thing, but he's fine.
The car spins out. Mm-hmm. Barry's covered in blood. He gets back in the car, and they're like, "Where are you bleeding from?" Blah, 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 blah. And he, like, checks himself over, and he's like...
I got no wounds.
He's like, "It's not my blood."
Oh, okay.
And so then they're like, "Must have been a deer." And they're like... And Julie's like, "It wasn't a deer!" Of course not.
Right.
So they get out... And they're like, "Oh, I don't see it. Oh, the car's wrecked. My dad's gonna kill me." And all of a sudden, Julie goes, and she, like... On the side of the road, there's a boot with some blood on it.
There's a boot!
Yeah. And I hate to reference Scary Movie as much as we're going to
be
in this episode. But I just, every time she holds up the boot and like, they're like, and I always go, "It's a boot. Where's the foot?"
Yeah. There are a couple, it's pretty easy, I think, to get lost in these movies and forget about Scary Movie. But there's a couple of moments that you're just like this is it. This is the one.
Right.
This and we'll talk about the "What are you waiting for" scene. That's the other one for me that I'm just like, Scary Movie.
They continue kind of walking down the road. Then Julie sees the body, screams bloody murder. The guy's face is mangled.
Yeah, this guy.
And he's technically wearing the same outfit from the guy from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's like overalls. I guess everyone kind of wears overalls. Julia wears overalls.
Yeah, later on in the movie. Yeah. You cannot see this guy's face. It's so mangled.
Right.
So then they start panicking. Ray goes to check the body. He's like, "I think he's dead." Ray, you're not a coroner. You don't get to decide that. Mm-hmm. So then Barry's like, "There's no way we can go to the police.
Right.
I'm drunk as fuck.
It's my car.
They're gonna nail me. Yada, yada, yada."
Yeah, and Ray smells like alcohol because he got it.
Yeah, because the bottle dropped and smashed and got all over him. Yeah. It's all over the inside of the car. Mm-hmm. Julie's like, "No, it'll be fine." And Ray's like, "We're going to get charged with manslaughter and we're all going to fry no matter who takes the blame. Even if it was an accident, somebody's going to get in trouble." Yeah, which I just I write down here. It's like, what would they have been charged with?
Yeah, even if it was an accident, they'd still be in trouble, but they definitely wouldn't get the death penalty.
I don't know. If you could somehow clean the alcohol off of the console.
Right.
To have Ray take his outer shirt off.
Uh-huh.
And just and then you call the police.
Right.
And you're just like, "I was driving the car." They'll breathalyze him. They'll see that he's clear.
Yeah.
And that, of course I was driving the car because my friend, who you can breathalyze, is fucking smashed.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So, like, it would be an accidental manslaughter, and, like,
they're kids.
They're all white kids. They're going to be fine.
Right,
like,
right. They're panicking. I see that they would be freaking out about this, and they wouldn't make the most rational decisions, but
right.
I get it. They it seems
they're
like...
young.
Right.
Helen was just like, let's just forget that this ever happened. And so they all go around it. Julie's like, no, we have to call the police. Eventually, Barry just like almost beats the shit out of her. And it's like, no, we're going to hide this body and we're going to move on.
What about, have we talked yet about Big Bang Theory, dude?
Not yet.
We saw him earlier.
Yeah, he goes
to the school with them.
Yeah, he gets in a scuffle. It's John Galecki.
Yeah.
Who, yes, is in Roseanne.
He's in Roseanne.
And also Big Bang Theory.
He's in Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, he had gotten in a scuffle with Barry's character earlier in the movie. He's now driving by.
Yeah, he kind of just hates these guys. There's not
he wants to be with Julie.
Oh, right. He likes Julie. Yeah.
And so, yeah. So he pulls over, talks to Julie. He's like, hey, you guys having car trouble? Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, no. They, like, kind of hid the body over the guardrail. No, Barry's just really sick. He had too much to drink. Yeah. And, like... Max, his character, John Galecki, is like, sees his car's like all messed up and whatever's like, oh yeah, I can tell that,
right.
Yeah, he's really like sick or whatever. And they're like, oh, it's fine. He drives away.
Yeah.
So, yep. So now they're like, okay, we're going to dump this body.
Yep.
They take it down to the pier and they're just hoping, they're like, okay, either this body will never show up, or if it does show up, hopefully the crabs and the fish and the waves have like torn it to where you can't even tell who it is, or that he got hit by a car or whatever.
Right, they'll assume that he just drowned. Stuff like this happens.
They get him right to the edge of the pier. Julie's pipes in. She's like, we should find out who it is.
Yeah, now's not the time.
Yeah, no. They're fighting on who needs to get his idea. Finally, Helen, she's like, I'll do it. It's fine. She goes, reaches down. The guy wakes up and like,
he's not dead.
He's not dead. Reaches, grabs her crown that she won because she won that pageant off of her head and like falls into the water.
Yep.
And Barry's like, fuck. If he's found with that crown, they're going to know it's us because you're the only person that's won that. So he jumps in. The body is sank super quickly.
Yeah, it's like
which bodies don't like sink that way.
Maybe, I guess if he had like a bunch of stuff in his, heavy stuff in his pockets.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
It's
but
weird.
like he swims up to the body. It's kind of just like floating at the bottom of the sea. And he goes to grab the crown. The guy like opens his eyes.
He's still alive.
Yeah, freaks Barry out, swims up to it, and like, boom, it's over. And Barry's like, we're going to take this to our grave. We're not telling anybody about that. Threatens Julie again, like, I'll fucking kill you if you tell anybody.
Right. He's like grabbing her neck. He's being all...
And Ray's just fucking standing there. Ray, who's almost like at least 6 inches taller.
For sure.
Which is another reason why having Matthew Lillard would have been a nice pair, because he's taller than Freddie Prinze Jr.
He is. He towers over him.
It doesn't tower over him. They're like...
I know, but this guy is so... It's not that... I'm not calling him out for being short or whatever, but... He's supposed to be like this big, imposing figure.
He's not. He's very slender. He's very like toned. Not big at all.
That's another thing that somebody, before I had seen this movie, somebody was hyping it up. And they're like, this movie is so scary because the guy with the fish hook, he kills this guy Barry. And he's like this huge guy. He's like huge. He's got all these muscles. And this guy killed... one of my cousins said this. And I was like...
Oh, I want to know. They won't know.
But he... is supposed to be this huge guy that got killed by the fish hook guy, so that's how scary he is, but he's not. He's this thin dude.
So, that's the end of that. We jump to 1 year later.
Yes.
Julie's in her dorm room. She's emo as fuck and is hating life, which...
It makes sense.
Kind of would.
Yeah.
Unless you just push shit like real deep down.
Right.
Or were kind of like a sociopath and just like didn't feel anything towards it.
That'd be me.
It would be... I'm not going to say what I would be.
Okay. Great.
But, like, she's not doing well. She comes home for the summer. She's at her mom's house. Her mom's worried about her because she's not doing well in school. Yeah. And, she was a straight A student and had all these scholarships and whatever, and now she's not doing well.
College is hard.
College is hard for a lot of people who do... It's so weird. People who do well in high school usually don't do well in college, and people who don't do well in high school usually do well in college. It's just a different learning method.
Is. And you get used to one thing.
Exactly. You did very well in high school.
I did.
And did not do very well in college.
Listen, I did fine.
And I did okay in high school, but like I did fantastic in college.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
So
it's true. It just does happen, but this is there's ulterior reasons here why she's doing bad.
So she's at home. Her mom's like, "Are you doing drugs?" and whatever. Right. And
she's like, "Yes, that's beside the point."
No. She, her mom hands her this envelope, and it just says Julie James, I think is her last name, on the outside. She opens it. It's a handwritten note.
Block letters.
Yeah, that says, "I know what you did last summer."
Title of the movie.
I love watching the scene because Jennifer Love Hewitt's eyes, they like shake back and forth so rapidly. Yeah. And I've always wondered if I could do that, but of course you can't like see yourself unless you like videotape it.
Right,
I guess you could. But but I've always wondered if my eyes ever could move that fast.
They're very rapid.
Yeah.
Then, hours later, she's still staring at this note.
Yeah.
It's nighttime.
Yeah. She finds Helen, who she thought had moved to New York. Apparently she did. She was going to try New York. It didn't work out. She's back here.
This is a recurring thing where they're like, oh, everyone's moved away, but everyone just happens to be back.
It's still, what's summer?
Yeah.
Like, people come home for the summer.
It's summer. Anyway, we're supposed to be having fun.
She meets up with Helen, and she's like, I got this note.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, did you tell Barry?
Right.
And
Barry was involved. And he also knows what we did last summer.
She's like, no, I didn't. So they go and they tell Barry, and he's like, this is full, this is a crock of shit, is literally what he says, which is the first time I've ever heard that. That expression, like crock of shit.
Like a crock pot?
Yeah, that's what I always thought of. I'm like, that's disgusting.
What does it mean, though?
A crock of shit.
What is a crock?
Well, a crock...
Like a crocodile?
No, like a crock is like a pot that you could piss in. Like, like an older style.
Like a chamber pot.
Kind of,
okay.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Well, you learn something new on what makes it scary. But yeah, he doesn't... does he not believe this?
He's like, it's just somebody nobody saw us, blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's Max.
Yeah. Because he showed up and he saw the car and everything.
Max works down at the docks. Yep. So they kind of go down there. Barry's going to threaten him.
Yeah. He grabs this fish hook.
Yeah. and threatens Max with it. And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Of course he would do that. Whatever. Turns out Ray also works at the dock.
Yeah. They happen to run into him. This is a weird coincidence.
Him and Julie, they didn't last very long. So like everyone's kind of very estranged in this coming together, and like we think something might be happening.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, he is also, so this is where the tank tops are in full effect, because Barry is wearing a white one, Ray is wearing a black one. It's very Star Warsy. Ray and Star Wars again. Which
I guess Freddie Prinze Jr. was in, technically, like Rise of Skywalker.
Right.
He was the one of the Jedi voices that Rey hears at the end.
Yeah,
so, fun fact.
We were looking up his IMDb and it said Rise of Skywalker, and we're like, what? And then it was just
I thought for sure he was like one of the stormtroopers, because a lot of celebrities like to do that. Mm-hmm. But not. Okay, so they all leave. They're going to try and figure it out. We're still at the dock with Max. Mm-hmm. He's pissed. Hangs up his meat hook. Everyone calls this a fish hook. It's not. It's a
fish hook is a tiny little thing.
Yeah, a meat hook. One that you would hook carcasses of meat and drag around.
Yeah. And
then he's wandering around. The hook's magically gone. And then he's like, it's very steamy and foggy because they're cleaning and, whatever that they do at the docks.
Right, yeah.
I don't know.
They fish. It gets hot down there.
This guy in this, it's called a slicker, a big raincoat, a big black raincoat.
And a bit like a hat, too, which covers his face.
It's like Gordon's fisherman, but black.
Right.
Comes in, has the meat hook, and literally just shoves it up through Max's jaw.
You can feel this.
Yeah. It's
brutal.
This is where you're like, oh, like, there is a killer, and this is what this movie's going to be like.
Or if you read the book, you're like, oh, that's a weird little hiccup in the story. Oh, well, and brush it off as a non-event.
Anyway, nobody knows that he's dead
for like a
long time.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Barry goes to the gym, works out, showers off, goes back to his locker. Mm-hmm. There's a picture in his locker of his messed up car.
Yeah.
He had said earlier that, like,
He's like,
my friend will fix it. Like, nobody has to know.
Right.
So there's a picture of his messed up car, and on the bottom of it, it says, like, I know.
Yeah.
And his jacket's missing, his Letterman's jacket.
Right. So that's very scary.
He's like, what the fuck? And then he hears his car outside start up because he was like the only person at the gym. And so he runs outside. Somebody's in his car and basically does this like cat and mouse type of thing and like actually runs into him in like a little shack.
Like throws him right through the wall. This would really hurt.
Mess you up.
Yeah.
It doesn't kill him. It breaks his arm.
Yeah. It fades out, and like he
does see the guy in the slicker with the hook.
He sees the guy, so like you think that he's gonna die, and then the scene just fades. I hate fade outs in movies.
Yeah, I don't really mind it.
Yeah,
but
he wakes up in a hospital. Well, he's in a hospital, and his friends come to see him because they're like, "What happened?
Yeah,
and we need to know."
He's like, I don't think it's Max. It's this guy in a slicker. He's just fucking with us. If he wanted to kill me, he could have killed me right then.
Which is true.
Which I'm surprised he didn't kill you just by hitting you with the car. But yeah, so they're like, eventually they found out that like the guy that they killed's name was David Egan. They're using the internet, which was the internet.
Big deal at the time.
Yes.
Because this
was
not...
Big scary internet.
Right, like what's this weird internet thing?
Nothing but viruses and all this other
right,
good stuff. Yeah, so they find out that his name was David Egan.
Yeah, and he has a sister.
Named Missy Egan. Who lives out in the sticks.
Right.
They go, Helen and Julie go out there to like see if she kind of knows anything, but still kind of try to keep it quiet.
Right.
She doesn't really. She's like, oh yeah, David killed himself.
Yeah, and she produces an old note. This is old. It's not new, but it says,
I will always know what you did last summer.
A hint to the third movie.
And turns out David Egan's fiance, a year prior to when he died.
So 2 years before now.
2 years ago, had died in a car crash because he was driving drunk.
Yeah, on that road.
Right. So Missy thinks that he killed himself out of the grief of killing his fiance.
And wrote that as like a suicide note,
right.
I guess.
That's what she thinks. She doesn't tell the police that because they wouldn't give her the insurance money if it's a suicide.
Right.
Whatever. They don't really get any information except that this one person named Billy Blue came to pay his respects.
Yeah, like a couple weeks after the 1 year later we saw at the beginning of the movie. A couple weeks after that.
Right. After Billy they found Blue. David Egan's body.
Right.
So nothing really comes of that either. It's a really cute scene, though, because they give each other code names, and one of them's Jodie, and I'm always like,
Oh, because they reference Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster and Angela Lansbury.
Yeah.
So anyway, they go home. Helen goes home. Her dad's in the living room watching TV. She
completely unresponsive. Yeah. She's like, hey, I'm home. And he's just like... And she has like this bitch of an older sister. Oh, yeah.
Absolute bitch. Her name's Elsa.
Yeah, a blonde woman named Elsa. Frozen reference.
Right.
It's a reference to Frozen, movie that didn't
technically, come out. Like, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade had an Ilsa.
Yeah, but she wasn't
blonde.
A sister, so it doesn't count.
Whatever.
It doesn't count.
Okay.
Only sisters count.
Helen goes into the kitchen, gets a Diet Coke. Got to get that branding in there.
This is so annoying to me. She gets a Diet Coke. She pours it into a glass. Hold on. She pours it into a glass cup, which who does that? I mean, maybe if you're sharing, sure. But she pours a tiny little bit, takes a sip, just drink out of the can. And then
sets it down.
She sets both the can and the cup down on the counter and then goes to bed and just leaves it there. Who's going to clean that up? Not the father. He can't move. He's fused to the couch.
Right.
Probably just leaves it for Elsa, which is why she's so mad at her.
Right.
Anyway,
I
get irrationally angry.
She's getting that Diet Coke from the kitchen.
Yeah.
In comes the fisherman.
This is freaky.
Slicker guy.
Slicker dude.
He just kind of comes into the house and walks up the stairs, almost right past the father he doesn't even see.
Yeah.
And, it's a really good shot of, Helen coming down the hallway, and the fisherman's already at the top of the stairs, and,
turns into a room.
Right, turns into a room. She then walks up the stairs, walks into her room, gets into bed. The closet door's open, but she doesn't think anything of it, because some people are friggin' crazy and
just
have...
sleep with the door...
halfway open, yeah.
Either commit and close it, or just, you know what I did when I moved into this house? Took the closet door off.
Because you're like,
I'm
not going to get killed.
Right, I'm not having anything lurking in that closet. Under the bed, I stuff things so that there is no under the bed.
Which we will get to later.
Yes, I cover my bases. Ain't nothing sneaking up on me.
That's right.
Anyway,
next morning comes. Helen wakes up. Her hair is chopped to shit.
Is it, though?
It's supposed to be. And when I first watched it, I was like, how horrifying.
It is, and it really is. But she still looks great. Like, she just does her hair differently, and it's like, I get it. Like,
the
I'm not
90s
saying...
was all about, like, that. Just, you either had, like, luscious long hair in the 90s, or you had the Dorothy Hamill, which is just, like, this, like, ugly short haircut.
Oh, don't be that way to Dorothy.
Whatever.
She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, she knew exactly what she was doing. Anyway, her hair's cut up. Mm-hmm. She looks at her vanity mirror, and it says in lipstick, hopefully, I think it's lipstick.
Yeah.
It says soon. She freaks out, screams, hits the mirror, which like, ow.
She shatters
That's 7 years bad luck, Sarah. Jesus.
Buffy lasted 7 years.
Did it really?
I think so. 7 or 10.
7 years of good luck.
I think it was 9 years. I'm going to look it up.
Okay, you don't even know. Anyway.
Mm-hmm. 7 seasons. It lasted 7 seasons. Wow.
Well, apparently that was 7 years of good luck for Sarah.
Right.
Michelle Gellar.
Good for her.
So she's freaking out. She called Julie. Julie's on her way over, driving in her car. Mm-hmm. She hears this, like... Which you can hardly hear it on the audio of the movie and probably this podcast.
Right. Yeah, it's very subtle.
It's just this, like, ticking and, like, scratching.
Yeah, what is that sound?
So she, like, pulls over and, like, she unlocks her trunk, which is what you had to do.
Yeah, you
back
couldn't
in the
just
90s.
press a button.
Yeah. She unlocked it, flips it up. There's Max's body covered in live crabs.
I hate this because crabs are like spiders of the ocean.
Skitter.
They skitter. They skitter. They move fast.
And everyone knows I hate things that skitter.
Yeah, and I hate things with 8 legs.
Max is also wearing Barry's Letterman jacket, which you can't even tell, but he does say
he's covered up in crabs.
Yeah, he's covered in crabs. Julie screams, of course. Goes, runs, gets Helen and Barry's there by that time. Brings him back to her car. Like, she had closed the trunk because she couldn't let anybody see the dead body.
Yeah.
Good call.
Right.
She goes back, opens pops the trunk. Everything's gone.
This doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. This would never happen.
First of all, how did he get into the car? It was locked. How much time would that have taken to, like, pick the lock?
And then to get all those crabs.
Right.
And clean it.
Because those wet.
It'll be fucking dirty. It'll smell like...
crabs.
Ass.
Right.
Smells like ass.
What is this? Wrong turn.
Dead end.
Sorry.
That's the second time we've referenced this movie. Anyway, there's no way, absolutely no way that he would be able to clean this up this fast.
It's ridiculous. And this comes back in the sequel where he's just like an expert at just deep cleaning instantly.
Right. So this is where we get the most iconic scene from this movie.
Absolutely.
Julie can't take it anymore. She's like, I'm tired of him fucking with us, and she turns around, screams to the sky, what are you waiting for, huh?
Yeah. And then a guy who's jumping off of the school is like, what am I waiting for? And then jumps. That's the other scary movie
reference. Yeah, it's always good. Apparently, a kid or teen had like won a contest.
Yeah.
And like was like, you get to direct one scene in this upcoming scary movie. I know what you did last summer. And he got to direct that scene. And he's like, I want her to stand in the street.
Yeah.
And scream. And, Jennifer Love Hewitt's like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But lo and behold, it becomes the most iconic scene of the movie.
It works. It's a great moment. It really does a great job of blasting the tension because it's like it's building up and this is just like an expression of frustration. I think it really works. It's good.
Yeah. So they all get together, Ray's there again, and they're basically like, we still can't go to the cops.
Right.
It's obviously not Max if Julie's right because he's dead in the car.
Yeah.
So they're just like, I guess we like keep going and try to find him.
Yeah.
So it's the 4th of July. Helen has to ride in the parade because she's going to be crowning the next fish queen or whatever that contest is.
Yeah, it seems like if all this killer stuff was happening, they would not do this, but whatever.
But what are you going to do?
I guess.
So she's in the parade. That's a good scene, too, because you see all these people and, like, there's people in these slicker outfits because it's a fisherman town.
Lots of people wear this.
And, like, she does see kind of one guy and he like holds up the hook and all this other stuff.
And Barry runs after him, tackles this old man.
Such a sad old man.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, it's not him. It's just this old man. They don't know that that's not him. They don't know who this guy is or what he looks like. So he just assumes, oh, it's an old person. So we can't be the one doing this.
Basically, this scene just like amps up like, oh, it's starting to climax all of this stuff.
Right.
So they get to the place where the pageant's being held. Helen has to sit on stage. Barry is up in the kind of the rafters, watching, surveying, making sure nothing happens to her.
Yeah.
I think Julie goes back to talk to Missy about something, and like Ray's at work. Like nobody knows where Ray is. He
and
doesn't really.
That's part of the suspicion.
You're almost supposed to think that it's Ray at points.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the talent portion of this pageant, Helen looks up at the rafters to Barry, and the guy, the hook man.
Right. She sees him behind him, and she's like freaking out.
She starts screaming, running into the audience. Everyone's holding her back like, oh, what? And meanwhile, Barry is being impaled.
Yeah. You wouldn't do that. If somebody was screaming like, he needs help and running down the aisle, you wouldn't stop them.
No,
You'd at the very least turn and look at where she's looking at.
Right.
But whatever.
And Barry gets hooked.
Yeah.
And he's dead.
He gets got. Straight up.
They go up there. There's no trace of anything. Helen's like, I told you that, like, he was killed. And the cop's like, whatever, you're crazy.
This is pool of blood, but they missed that.
Yeah. That's, like, dripping off of the thing.
Yeah.
There's so much of it. But anyway, she's getting taken home in the cop car because.
Yeah.
The cop car pulls over, stops. And
because there's somebody with their cars busted up, and there's a truck, the trunk's open, and this guy is, like, working on it. The cop, for some reason, gets out to help him instead of just leaves him be.
Yeah.
And it's the fish hook guy, and he kills this cop. He lays the body down. He starts coming after Sarah.
Right. She's screaming in the back. She actually, like, either kicks or punches out the back window. You would never be able to do this.
Hold on a second. It's established that the Vampire Slayer has super strength, and we saw that she was able to break that mirror from before.
That's true.
So she clearly does have super strength. Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting. Anyway, you would never be able to smash a back window out of a cop car, because then everybody would do that and get away.
Do it, right. But she does.
So then she's running to her family store where Elsa is.
Yeah, they own it's kind of just like a generic.
Yeah, she's booking it in these high heels. She's
pulling a real Claire from.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it.
Okay, well, I was. All right?
I didn't want to say it. Because fuck that lady.
No, she's great. That movie is not good, but she's cool.
She makes me turn into Arnold, and it makes me really mad.
That makes me happy. Okay, anyway, she gets to the store.
She's running. The fisherman's like walking behind her.
Jason Voorhees walking.
She gets to the door, is pounding on it. Elsa, let me inside. Fucking Elsa.
She takes her time. She's like,
I'm coming.
I'm coming.
Unlocks the door. Helen comes in, closes it, and is like, go lock the back door and do as I say, like, right now. Like, She doesn't really say, like, there's a fucking killer, none of this stuff, because, like, her sister wouldn't believe her anyway.
She doesn't say, look outside at the killer who's right there.
Yeah, who you would think.
Yeah.
Helen goes to run upstairs to call the police. Elsa goes to lock the back door. Too late. Fisherman's in there, slices Elsa.
Yep.
And, there's this is, like, the most gut literally wrenching scene of the entire movie, where you see Elsa's body, like, being dragged around on the hook. It's enough to make you just shit yourself.
That is pretty gross.
Yeah. That's one of those scenes that I'm always like,
yeah.
No.
The guy puts on, like, this plastic thing.
Yeah, he, like, pulls the plastic over, like, you just, I guess they do at the end of the day to keep the dust off the mannequins. So there's, like, a couple of them around the store, but, like, Helen's, like, walking around, and she, like, turns and slowly looks back, and you can see that it's the guy in the slicker, which is also just makes your heart, like, fucking race.
Yeah. This reminds me of in Halloween, the first Halloween movie, where he puts the bed sheet over himself and wears the glasses. It's like, I'm going to do this bit. This is going to be very funny.
Boys.
Yeah, like what you see, boys. It's very funny.
So he lunges at Helen. They do this whole cat and mouse thing. There's this really great thing where she gets on this, like, pulley system and is pulling herself up. He's like trying to hook her feet. That's also a really intense moment. She goes all the way up to the top, breaks out a window, rolls, falls off the roof, all this other good stuff. And the parade's going on. She's, like, almost there. She's, like, running down this alley. She's so close. She stops, looks behind her just to make sure.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the fisherman's on the other side, kills her.
Yeah, he got in front of her. I don't understand.
I don't know how.
I don't know why she stopped and turned behind her, but
I don't know.
But she gets killed right next to all these parade people, and they're playing loud, so they're not hearing anything. It's very sad.
Right. Meanwhile, so Barry's dead. Helen's dead.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
at least the couple dies together. Yeah. Not together, but
Julie is, like, going to find Ray.
Yeah. At one point, she went back to Missy Egan's place, but it didn't really amount to anything. Right. She returns there for some reason.
So she gets there. Ray's on the boat, and his boat is named Billy Blue.
What?
And so now she's like, shit, you're the killer because you're the one who's pissed about whatever, and you went to go see Missy Egan and all this other stuff. She starts running. Ray takes after. He's like, Julie, wait. I love when Freddie Prinze Jr. yells because it's just... You can't take him seriously.
Right. He's great.
Whenever he yells in anything, I always think back to Scooby-Doo 2, where he's like talking to the reporter, Alicia Silverstone. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you just want me to say that I think Coolville sucks. And he's like, shit, don't use that. So that's always, that's what I always think of when I see Freddie Prinze Jr. yell at somebody. Anyway, this guy comes out and clotheslines Freddie as he's running down the dock.
Ow. That would hurt.
And Julie's like, help, I need to call 911. The guy's like, well, I have a phone on my boat. Run in there.
Yeah, it's this older dude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She runs in there, gets into the cab, and looks around. And apparently this guy specializes at like the 1 hour photo stand that they had in the 1997 because there's pictures from earlier that day. And then like the scene where she's like, what are you waiting for? There's like a picture of that. And like now she's like, and there's all these newspaper clippings about like dead David Egan and body found and blah, 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 blah. And dead Susie, and the boat that she's on is called the Sweet Susie. And now she's like starting to kind of piece all this together that like, oh shit. Yeah. The guy comes on and he's like, you know, when you go to kill somebody, you better make sure that they're dead.
Right.
Turns out this is Ben Willis.
Yeah, Ben Willis, who is the father
of Susie, the fiance to David Egan. This story is like all
very
types
complex.
Of run around or whatever. So he's been the fisherman and he's going to kill Julie.
Right. Because he was the guy that they hit at the beginning of the movie.
Right.
So now he's pissed. He goes after him. There's a really long, it's kind of cool, this like chase sequence, fight sequence. Because they're on the boat and the boat's out to sea. So they're not like, they can't just jump off onto the pier. They're strapped on this boat, which is a really good thing to be like, you have to kill him because you can't get away. You're on this boat.
Yeah, you're on a boat.
Right.
Why she doesn't just like jump off right at the beginning?
Yeah, it seems like you're right next to shore.
She was right next to the edge. She literally just could have jumped in the water unless she's like really scared of sharks. But she was like right near the dock.
You'd think, yeah. But they don't.
Ray kind of wakes up.
He's my bae.
Yeah. No, he's
sorry.
Michelle Gellar's
okay, great.
bae.
Sorry.
And they're gonna stay happily married. You got that, Fred?
Okay.
He jumps in this little motorboat and is going out because apparently he knows what's going on too.
Yeah.
There's no way he would know.
Whatever.
And gets to the boat. So Julie's kind of in the underdecks.
Yeah, she goes to
I know boat terms.
The underdecks, that's right.
Yeah. And gets into like this like part
ice.
where there's all this ice cubes where you would put your day's catch.
Right. Yeah.
And like pulls on this board and Helen's body pops out. She like jumps back. Her hand lands on Barry's face. So like that's always a good scene too.
Yeah. That's gross.
So
it's the classic finding the dead bodies.
Ray gets on the boat. They're all on the top deck now.
Yeah.
Ben Willis goes to hook Julie. His hand gets caught in like this rope.
Yep.
Ray, being the smart deck guy that he is.
He knows boats.
Yeah, he knows boats, unlike me. Hits this thing. It tightens around Ben Willis's wrist, sends him up into the police system, cuts off his hand, and he falls overboard.
Yeah, he flings into the water. And once again, they don't follow his advice from earlier, which is to make sure he's dead.
Yeah. I mean, he gave him one solid piece of advice, and they just fucking teenagers just completely ignore it.
You know what? Kids these days never listen to their elders. Kids today.
I don't know what's wrong with these kids today.
nice Bye-Bye Birdie reference.
I put a lot of effort into it, can you tell?
Yeah.
So that's basically the end of the movie.
Yeah, they drive... because he knows how to drive a boat, which is good for them because we wouldn't be able to, they go back to shore.
Yeah, they go back. The police are there and they're like, do you have any reason to think why this guy was stalking you? And they're like, no reason. So they get away with murder twice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Twice.
Yeah.
We jump to another year into the future.
This movie takes place over 3 years.
Yes. I had to make sure you were right.
Wow. It's going to be cut short, but you stood there for like 45 minutes.
Yes, we jump. Julie's back at college. She's doing much better. She's on the phone with Ray, and they're being all lovey-dovey and never. And
yeah,
I like
hate
that.
It's gross. I don't like it.
I
don't like when people are
scene.
cute. I don't like when people are in love. Can I say that?
I guess you can say that.
Okay.
She's like getting into the shower. She's got like a towel wrapped around herself because we just love to look at Jennifer Love huge tits in this movie.
Wow. Okay.
I can say that because somebody else referenced that either in Scream or Scary Movie.
Yeah. We can't remember where it's from, but it's from something.
I think it's Scary Movie. Anyway, she like turns on the shower, so it's getting really steamy whenever she like hangs up the phone. She hangs up the phone with Ray. Mm-hmm. She walks back in. She sees a note and it says Julie.
Block letters.
And she's like,
no.
Yeah, it's the exact same block letters. And she like goes and she like pulls it out and she opens it and it's like pool party thrown by Bay Kappa Theta.
Yeah. It's a sorority thing.
So it's a cute little sting at the end. Then she like walks forward like into the shower. It's all steamy and there's mirrors and on one of the mirrors it says I still know.
Foreshadowing the second movie.
Right. And she like turns around and then she turns back and the fisherman like jumps through the mirror.
Boom!
And that's the end of the movie.
Jump scare. One last one.
Whew, that took a long time, but I really like this movie, so I wanted to spend a lot of time
about
on
this
it.
movie. It's definitely the series high peak because
it goes downhill from here.
We usually save rankings till later, but ranking these movies is pretty obvious that it's like 1, 2, 3, and it's like 1, and then way down there is 2, and then way down there is 3. So
I adore this movie.
Yeah.
I love watching it every single time.
Mm-hmm.
We even we watched it in preparation for this, and I had a hard time sleeping.
Yeah, you're always really scared of this movie, and I don't get it.
We'll get into what makes it scary later on.
Right.
1 year later, 1998.
98. So
they came out with I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Right, I Still Know. A title that's somehow even longer than the first one, which had a long title to begin with.
Right.
This movie's a lot of fun, I think. It's not good.
It's comical.
It's got another great cast of characters. We got Brandy.
Yeah.
Brandy is in the movie.
Cinderella herself.
Yes, I love that movie.
I'll just throw it right out there. We're watching this movie. We paused it. You had said, you're like, man, Jennifer Love Hewitt could make like a really good Belle. And I was like, Belle and Cinderella.
Oh, yeah, because of
in the same movie.
Disney movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mekhi Phifer from 8 Mile is in this movie.
Jack fucking
Jack Black is in the movie.
He's a character.
He's a character and a half.
We also have returning, like I said, Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. for this sequel.
They are...
Thank goodness, because like it would be hard if you didn't have them.
Right, absolutely.
We almost pick up right where we left off. Turns out the very ending of the last movie is a dream that Julie's been having. She's also been having this other dream where she goes to confess that she murdered somebody and it's Ben Willis and he goes to kill her. She's been having just all these awful dreams.
It's very obvious that whenever somebody gets into a confessional booth in a horror movie, the person on the other end is the killer.
I am not Catholic.
Right.
And even if I was...
You would never...
I would never get into a confessional booth. Those confessional booths alongside like the log truck from Final Destination and an ice pick, these things are only used for like death.
Yeah. These are only horror movie things.
Right. She wakes up, like we said, her roommate is Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she's still with Ray. And he comes to pick her up to take her home for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
It's been a year since Helen and Barry and they had all that traumatic experience.
Right, so she doesn't want to go back. It's the anniversary.
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to go back.
Right.
And Ray's like, well, I have to fucking work. So like, I'm going back.
Yeah.
And whatever. Brandy gets this call. It's this radio station. It's like, hey, if you can name the capital of Brazil, we'll give you 4 free tickets to the Bahamas for this weekend.
And this is before smartphones.
Yes.
Which is important because they could have just looked this up.
Yeah, like Julie runs, grabs the thing of coffee, and it's like, it's Rio de Janeiro. And like, they're like, that's correct. And
mm-hmm. Now, I would not have known the answer to this, so it's not like I can judge them for not knowing.
Yeah, because like the Olympics took place in Rio, so like I would have thought that as well.
Yeah, it's not though. That's the thing.
Yeah, it's
Brasilia.
Yeah. Anyway, they win. Ray has to work. So Brandy's taking her boyfriend Ty, which is played by
Mekhi Phifer.
And then they're also taking their friend
Will Benson. They were like holding off on inviting him because they wanted Ray to come. But Ray was like, no, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. Because I guess because he was upset about
that she didn't come home, and yet he has like this ring that he's gonna give her.
Yeah, so you'd think like, go
it's
with
like very,
yes.
very confusing.
It's contrived. It's very contrived.
So their friend Will's gonna go.
Yeah.
Will likes Julie because who doesn't love
Everybody's
Jennifer
in love. Yeah,
Hewitt.
everyone's in love with her. That's why her,
so,
that's why her
now
name
we
is
have
Love Hewitt.
now we have this like triangle. That was really funny.
Thank you.
So now we kind of like have this love triangle. Julie doesn't really like Will, of course, like because when you have Freddie Prinze Jr. in your sights, what else would you see?
I guess he's the blinding ray in her eyes.
Okay.
All right.
They go off to the Bahamas. Yeah. Ray kind of decides like, okay, maybe I should like meet them. His friend's like, I'll drive you up there.
Yeah, his friend comes with
to
them.
where the airport is or wherever.
Right. You'd think at this point Ray would be like, no, I'm going to drive, and I'm going to drive by myself, because every time I drive with somebody, bad things happen.
Apparently.
Because they do come across this body in the road, and his friend's like, he's probably just passed out or something. Or it's like, or I think he says like, oh, he's already dead. We shouldn't worry about it.
We got to go find a phone because they don't have cell phones.
Yeah. And Ray's like, or maybe not, because he knows.
So he has like this guilt. He doesn't want to leave somebody dead.
Yeah. So he gets out and he goes, approaches the body, and it's a mannequin. And he's like, oh, that's weird. So wait, that means, and he turns back. Fishhook dude is back. He's there, and he's next to the
fisherman.
Sorry. And kills his friend by, it's kind of like the opposite of what he does to Max from the, because
it's the exact same.
Well, because he hooks Max from the bottom up, and this guy he hits from the top down, like through his jaw.
Okay.
I don't
think that's right, but go ahead. Well, he gets pulled out of the car. Mm-hmm. The fisherman jumps in the car and is trying to run Ray down. Yeah, and it's like for a long time, Ray's just running with the road. Like, not Fred.
Go into the forest.
Cars
there.
Cannot go into the forest.
Instead of going through the forest, which is, again, right there, he leaps over this cliffside and tumbles down, and he gets knocked out.
He wakes up in a hospital later.
Yeah, well, let's just do all the Ray stuff right now.
He wakes up in a hospital bed, and then the doctors are checking in on him, but they turn, and then they turn back. He's gone. He jumped out the window. He had pulled out all his stuff. He's going to go find Julie because he knows that the fisherman Willis is still alive, apparently. So then he trades the engagement ring that he bought for Julie in for a gun. Yeah. He got ripped. I mean, I don't know how much guns are, but like I feel like he got ripped off. Yeah. Because that diamond was fucking huge.
Yeah, this was expensive.
Like $10,000 huge.
Yeah, definitely like 4 or 5 digits. And he goes in, he's like, how much for this? And the dude's like, $300.
He's like, give me the gun. I'm not waiting. Yeah. Give me the bullets.
Is it loaded? Yeah.
Load it, because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right, please. He ends up taking this gun and using it to acquire a boat.
Right, he threatens the guy, give me a boat.
Yeah, and he can't just get onto a boat that's going there because there's a storm.
Hurricane.
Which we'll get into. But he gets to the island. That's all going on throughout the movie. We keep returning to this.
Right. So the other 4, Ty, Clara, Julie, and Will all get to the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm. They're having a good time.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different characters. They meet like Derek, who's helping him off the boat. They meet Titus, who's played by Jack Black. And
what did we say about him? We said, I love his Anthony Anderson from Scary Movie cosplay, because he is, and we both literally said that at the exact same time. I was like,
and you were already
Anthony
saying
Anderson. Yeah, it was so funny because it really
he has these huge dreadlocks.
Yeah, they're bigger than like his frame is. Yeah, it's so
they're
funny.
Absolutely huge, which just reminds me of the scene where they just get bigger and bigger and bigger in Scary Movie with Anthony Anderson.
It's great.
It is so funny. He's constantly like, you want weed, you want marijuana,
he's
blah, blah,
he's
blah,
like
blah.
the prototypical stoner character.
Right. We also have the front desk person played by...
Oh, Jeffrey Combs, who was the Reanimator. We haven't really seen him too much.
I've never seen it. His face is very familiar to me.
Yeah, well, he's in other stuff, but like we haven't really covered anything that he's been in on this show.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's classic.
There's also Esteban.
Oh, Estes.
Estes, yeah.
I don't remember. Like, this guy's famous. He was in Night at the Museum. I know that.
Yeah, he's the guard.
Right.
The day guard?
I think so. Or the one who came before him. I don't remember. But it's a good movie. We should cover that.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
Yeah, he is.
Those are kind of all our playing characters. So they get there.
There's also this bartender.
Oh, Nancy.
This bartender who's Jennifer Esposito, or Esposito. She's also famous. I haven't really seen much of her, but she's a name.
Yeah, so we do have, like, good actors.
Yeah, we have, like, a...
That's never been the problem with either of these movies.
Right. They
have great
well.
actors.
Yeah.
Until the third one.
Right.
So it turns out they came at the beginning of hurricane season, so they're going to be running with this, like, a skeleton crew at the resort. Yeah. They're like, oh, well, we got this for free, so I guess it doesn't really fucking matter.
There's, like, limited boat going back and forth.
Yeah, the ferries, it takes, like, 3 days for the ferries to come.
Right. The radios are going to be down, so it's just a mess.
Right. So they go to the bar. They go to play sing karaoke. Uh-huh. Jennifer Love Hewitt, or Julie, is like singing, I will survive. I will survive.
Nice rendition.
She's like singing her heart out, and I do think it is Jennifer Love Hewitt that's singing that.
Well, she's a singer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess if that's what you want to say.
All right.
Name a Jennifer Love Hewitt song.
Oh, I will survive, as covered in I Still Know What You Did That Summer.
So she's singing, and then she looks back at the karaoke machine, and it says, like, in red letters, it's like, I still know what you did last summer. So she starts, like, freaking out and all this other stuff.
I think that's a good scare. Like, that does make me... That is, like, cool. But it's a little silly to think of, like, this killer doing this.
Right.
Like, setting this up.
Right. So she's freaking out. They all end up sleeping kind of in... They have 2 suites.
Right, but they
all sleep in, like, the same bed, which is really funny, too.
Yeah. It's a funny image.
When they wake up the same morning. Ty's like, okay, Julie, do you see any other dead bodies or creepy people walking around or whatever?
Do you see Freddie or Jason out there? Which I like.
Like, shut up.
Yeah.
So, then... Ty and Brandy go off for a little while. She pays $100 for a swimsuit in, like, 1998.
Yeah, she was like, I'm not wasting my $100 swimsuit.
That's ridiculous.
It is.
That's a ridiculous amount of money for a free vacation that you got.
Right.
Like, save that money.
Yeah.
It's like $300 today for a bathing suit, which bathing suits are very expensive.
Sure.
And, like, sure, if you wanted, like, a designer bathing suit.
I don't get why bathing suits are expensive, because it's less material.
It's the type of material that it's made out of. I know, it's fucking stupid. I hate it. Anyway, later on, Clara and Julie, they go to work out and, like, kind of burn off all this energy. And then Brandy's like, you're not leaving this island until you get a tan. Right. Throws Julie into a tanning bed.
Literally lifts her up, drops her in. More tanning beds in horror movies. Yeah. What is this?
This was the first one.
Oh, this did come first, yeah. Yeah. So she, even though she's paranoid and worried about this killer, she puts on these glasses and headphones to be, like, completely tuned out and isolated. I think we missed when she found the dead body of Derek, who got killed earlier. Yeah. So she knows that stuff's going on. And nobody believes her because, again, he cleaned out the place before help could arrive. Right.
But he comes in, zip ties her into the tanning bed, turns it all the way up again. Like,
these don't go that high.
Right. They have safety regulations on them for a reason, and you would have to be like a super wizard of electrician to override that.
And that would take time, and you'd have to fiddle with it. You wouldn't just be able to crank it up.
Like, they don't have that. And so those are the things that just drive me nuts.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Brandy finds Jack Black's body, which, again, we missed that. He got killed earlier.
Oh, yeah. His scene's kind of scary, too.
It is.
Because the fisherman comes, hooks him through the hand into the coffee table.
Which is brutal.
Yeah, and then he goes to reach for, like, another weapon, and then he, like, goes through this is a very comical scene. He, like, goes to the hedges, and Jack Black's like, no, and then he, like, reaches toward the axe, and he's like, oh god, no!
He's like, seriously, man, don't do that! I love Jack Black so much.
Eventually, like, lifts up the hedge clippers and shoves him into him and kills him.
That's a shame. I wish he was in more of the movie. He makes me laugh a lot. But he's dead. They find his body later, so she screams. Meanwhile, the other guys find somebody's body. And so everybody knows that there's, like, everybody's on board with there's a killer now. No, like, they believe her.
They break Julie out of the tanning bag. Thankfully, she was in there, like, maybe 5 minutes.
Sure. Was it blocked off in the tops? Because, like, those things are open at the top and bottom. I think that's the only
thing that I could think that they were blocked from the top. Which,
you'd crawl out.
Well, in, like, tanning beds nowadays, there's usually, like, a fan attached to where your feet are.
Oh.
So you can't, like, get out that way. And normally the bed's so long and the room is so small that, like, You're up against the wall anyway.
It seems like they would make it so that you could get out if you had to.
Yeah, but normally they don't get zip tied. They don't have, like, handles that you zip tie.
Okay, right. That's sure.
Anyway.
Yeah, they get her out.
A ton of people start dying.
Mm-hmm. It's a full-on storm at this point. Estes
hits Will with a paddle.
Right.
So basically, they're all just kind of like running around. Even Nancy, the bartender, she dies. And
she gets stabbed like through Estes's body because he gets stabbed.
And now we like see that the fisherman is there. He's stalking around trying to kill Clara and all this other thing. They get out. Will comes back.
Yeah.
And has blood all over him. So Julie's like, oh my gosh, you're bleeding. Like, here, let me help you.
Let me give you first aid.
She's like looking all over him and is like, I can't find a wound. And he like looks right at her and is like, it's because it's not my blood.
He says,
which is a cute little like throwback to like Barry's character, like, it's not my blood.
And you know what he says? He says, it's pig's blood. The same stuff they use for oh wait, damn it, I messed it up. Pig's blood and Carrie. It is a very similar scene to the one in Scream.
Corn syrup.
That's what it is. Because it turns out he's one of the killers. There's two killers.
Right.
He's
been going by an alias of Will Benson. He is Ben Willis's son.
Will. His first name is Will.
Right.
It seems like this is pretty obvious.
Yeah. The fact that they say his last name over and over and over again.
Yeah, two of the three initials are the same, which you'd think would be.
Right. So he's dragging Julie out to get basically buried alive.
Yeah.
Ray shows up.
Because there's a grave that has her name on it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Ray shows up, so now we're having this like gunfight, hook fight.
Yeah. It's fun. It's a fun. It's in the rain. I love a good rain fight.
Yeah, it's pouring. We get another. What are you waiting for? Wills has Ray.
Yeah,
and Ben is going to hook him, and Ray at the last minute jumps out of the way, and Ben actually ends up hooking his own son, killing him.
Yeah, which is sad, but it's not sad. They brought it upon themselves.
Julie then shoots Ben. Shot him 6 times, I think. However many rounds a revolver
we'll say 6.
has. Yeah. And he falls into the grave that they were going to put Julie in. And he is tostadas.
Right. Well, it's raining and he's like being covered in mud. You can almost see it in real time.
Yeah, he's like sinking into it or whatever.
So
they jump like
another year in the future.
I don't think it's a year. I think it's like 6 months.
Okay.
Something really short.
Yeah. They have their own house. Lucky them.
Seriously, lucky them. Why?
Cool.
Yeah. So Freddie Prinze Jr., Ray, he's like in the bathroom brushing his teeth. Julie's just kind of like wandering around the house. You know, she's not quite comfortable there. And then like just goes to check everything. Oh, the window's locked.
Yeah.
That's fine. That seems to be okay. Like,
but she doesn't notice.
Yeah, she doesn't know these huge muddy footprints leading from a window or whatever.
Right.
She goes down and she sits on her bed. And like there's a rocking chair with a teddy bear that they had glanced at earlier. And now the teddy bear's like rocking in the rocking chair. And like there's a long like full body mirror that's almost right next to it, and she like looks into it and you can see under the bed, because she's sitting on the edge of the bed, that Ben Willis is under the bed.
Oh no, and like hooks her
and pulls her under. That's the end of that movie. Ray had gotten like locked in the bathroom while he was brushing his teeth or whatever.
Yeah.
That is the most terrifying part of this movie.
Is it really?
Yes.
Okay.
Listen, people who think things are under the bed, that's very scary. Also, the bear in the rocking chair freaks me out too, because that's like that like clown in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And the babysitter calls the mom and is like, "Get out of the house. There's no clown in yeah, that's what that bear is."
That freaks me out.
That bear's Jason Voorhees, like we've said. He's just a big bear.
Right, he is a big bear. This is the kind of bear that's scary because, like,
he was a hairy bear. He was a scary bear.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Because, like, somebody could hide in that thing, and I don't like that. I'm not about that.
You got me a big bear. Literally the size of that one.
That was cute, though. That was adorable, all right? So I don't want to hear.
I'm just glad that bear doesn't live here.
Yeah, it lives at Grandma's house.
It lives at my grandmother's house, so it can kill her.
Oh, jeez.
That was really rude to say.
Anyway, so,
that's the most terrifying part of that movie.
And the most terrifying part of the franchise is the fact that this third one exists. This movie's so bad. I love it because of how bad it is.
It just doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Right. So first of all, none of it is connected with the first movie.
No. It is called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. This came out in 2006.
So huge jump in time. Almost 10 years later, this movie came out.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's a bad movie. It looks bad. It was like... It's like it was filmed on like a little handheld recorder instead of like actual movie cameras.
Right. This was a direct-to-video as well.
Oh, yeah,
you have to say that.
No actors to speak of in this movie.
None that I know of.
Right.
It takes place in Colorado.
Yeah.
So like
the other side of the country.
Right. And
like Colorado is right next to Washington.
And it's a landlocked state. So it's like
why is he a fisherman?
Why are we scared of a fisherman?
Yeah.
There's these group of teens. I'm honestly not going to get into this movie because it's utter crap.
Well, we have to talk about how stupid it all is because the first movie was just a random accident that wasn't very contrived at all. It just happened, and then it was like, oh no, we have to cover it up, and there's this guilt. But this movie, this group of teens is playing a prank where it got a little out of hand, and one of them was supposed to jump off of the roof of a building and land on some mattresses, but those got moved, and he got impaled
on a
tractor pipe.
This is all like taking place at a carnival, so it's very public.
Yeah, and everyone...
and someone's dressed up as the fisherman slasher guy, but it's all a prank.
But everybody involved in the prank is in on it, so it's not like it's at the expense of anybody.
Well, of like the town.
I guess it's stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, this guy dies, and they're like, "Oh, we have to tell them that we were involved, or like it was just a prank, even though." Who cares?
What would have done?
Right.
But hurt them.
Right, and it wouldn't even have, I think.
Right, because it's not like the town then goes on the lookout for like this killer.
Right, and it's not like everybody knows what happened. They jumped. You can see there were mattresses, so he was clearly supposed to land on those, but didn't.
Right.
So it's like it was just an accident, legitimately. They weren't even involved, so it's very stupid. But they're like, we got to keep a secret. A year later. You know, people start dying and everyone's trying to figure out what's happening. It's all stupid. It turns out the thing of this movie is...
Oh, this is the dumbest part.
Because they're trying to figure... Like the first movie, they're trying to figure out who it is. They're trying to figure out who's the killer. Yeah, who done it. They think it's the sheriff.
Who doing it?
Yeah, they think it's the cop, but it isn't. It turns out it is Ben Willis, still from the first movie. He's a zombie. He's like this petrified, he's like this decrepit thing.
Demonic almost.
This is such a huge dumb turn to be like supernatural all of a sudden.
How would he know?
Yeah.
That they were planning this.
Why is he here? How did he get here?
How'd he get here?
And why does he care?
Yeah. It's so dumb.
It's so dumb.
So dumb.
I can't believe this movie
If you're looking for a
exists.
dumb movie, go ahead and watch it.
If you just want to put something on to laugh at how stupid it is, this is a good one to laugh at. It's real stupid.
It's sad that it's connected to such a good movie in my eyes.
Well, this is what happens when franchises go too long. Like, 3 movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Too long.
Yeah.
2's usually too many.
Usually, yeah. Just make a good movie, get in, get out.
Yeah, get in, make your money, get out.
Anyway, they stop
Unless you're Star Wars, keep making that shit. And don't fucking kill off Kylo fucking Ren.
He was a bad guy. He was going to die. There's no way out of that. Are you trying to force choke me right now?
Yeah.
You were like reaching for me like you were.
You're just...
Is this a Star Wars podcast?
It could be. It could easily be.
What makes it forcey? Oh, I don't like that. Never mind. Anyway, so they end up stopping him, but a year later... He threatens him again. It's stupid. This movie is so bad.
He'll never die.
Right, whatever. We don't need to talk about this movie anymore.
No, it's so dumb.
It's bad. Don't watch it unless you want to. Right. So, that's I Know What You Did Last Summer. The first one's a good movie. The second one, whatever. Third one's bad.
Third one's just, it's like, it shouldn't even exist. No. It's like Mean Girls 2 and Grease 2. They just shouldn't exist.
Yeah, just write them out.
Yeah, just completely forget that shit.
Yeah, so you love these movies. Well, you love the first one.
Yeah. The second one's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But I love these movies. Let's get into what makes them scary.
Yeah, this movie is interesting to talk about because, for one thing, like I don't find it particularly scary, but...
You don't find anything scary,
that's kind of true.
You literally have to ask me if something is scary.
Yeah, sometimes I do. Like,
I'm getting, again, Arnold coming out. I'm getting better at not being scared of things, but I still am very scared of everything.
Which is cool. But this movie deals a lot in guilt. It's about your past coming back to haunt you. There's a huge component. That's like literally the conceit of the movie is these people do something bad, keep it to themselves, but your past always catches up with you. And that's a very scary idea to a lot of people to have this thing where you can't keep stuff secret. Things are going to come out, especially if it's like as big as this. This isn't something that you can keep secret. And I think that's really compelling as a narrative to explore that idea, especially when you deal with the way that it affects these characters, because it's a running theme that their friendships and their relationships are completely fractured by this. And it's kind of literalized in the fact that this killer is ruining their lives in the way that this event, even without him coming back, would ruin their lives. It's just, again, more literal. It's a lot like how the clown deals with abuse and is a literal version of that. This is a literal version of regret and grief.
Going deeper into that, I think it all ties into, like we said before, the urban legend.
Yes, that too.
If you do something bad, something bad will happen to you.
It's karmic retribution.
Right. So within the story, the story of the Hookman, the people are presumably having premarital sex, and so they deserve to die. These kids killed this person, and so a year later they deserve to die, be punished for their sins. So like that, and it's all interwebbed together, and that is what makes it scary. Physically, I think what makes the fisherman scary. This is a very menacing.
He's imposing. He's tall.
Weapon.
Oh, right.
The weapon to me is like what makes it scary.
Yeah, it is. The not fish hook.
Right. The meat hook, because it's like, it's piercing.
Yep. It's big.
Yeah, it's wielding. Piercing is like the only word that I can think of, because like
it just impales
that's what
you.
it does.
Right. And
like I said, like seeing Elsa, like her entire body, 120-pound human being dragged with a hook.
Yeah.
Like
it's gross. Plus he's completely not figured, but covered up.
He's just a shape.
Yeah, you can't make out any. It's very much like Halloween,
Friday the 13th. It's all those things that we kind of talked about before, where it's like you can put your own fears into them.
Right. You take out all of the
until the third one when he takes off the stuff and it's zombie Ben Willis.
Yeah, so. Sure. So that's pretty. I think as a slasher, it's relatively straightforward. It's just imposing figure who's scary, who's just killing you, and he's coming after you one by one. You don't know where he is at any given time.
He could be anywhere. He's watching you. That's always a thing. You don't have any privacy. He's watching you. He sees everything that you do.
Right. He's almost got teleportation abilities.
Yeah, he's got some of that Jason Voorhees in him for sure. Yep.
So that's what makes it scary.
That's what makes I Know What You Did Last Summer terrifying.
Yeah. And the knowledge that a movie can be really good and then have a sequel that's just absolute garbage is scary as a filmmaker. So
yeah, we're looking at you, Ryan.
Ryan what?
Johnson.
Okay. Stop talking about Star Wars.
Again, not Star Wars. But it could be.
What makes it Star Wars?
Long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Wow.
That's it. Let's put a hook in this.
Oh, nice.
And leave it for dead.
Hey, Leave It for Dead? Is it the good kind of dead or is it the bad kind of dead?
No, I would say it's like demonic, or one would say like evil dead.
Evil Dead? Oh, and that is in fact a reference.
Because that is what we are covering next week.
Evil
Dead.
Ash, Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi. I'm going to watch Spider-Man in preparation for this.
Heck yeah. Why not?
I'm excited. So we'll see you next week for that. But in the meantime,
you can tweet at me. Tell me if you think I Know What You Did Last Summer is scary.
Yeah.
I find it terrifying, and I want to know what other people think. You can tweet at me at clevergirl, the letter F and the letter X.
I'm at Mr. spelled out the long way, red2342.
And if you would like to follow us on Twitter, the actual podcast, that's at Makes It Scary.
That's right. So do that. Make sure you rate and review the show. Reviews are how podcasts grow.
That's right. Okay. We will see you next week. And what are you waiting for?
That was cute. I like that.